Welcome, everybody. We are so thrilled to see just how packed this room is, and we are so excited about today's conversation, all about climate at MIT Sloan. We're going to talk about the past, the present, the future of climate education here at MIT. My name is Jen Graham. I'm Senior Associate Director of the MIT Sloan Sustainability Initiative, and I have the great privilege of welcoming our alumni moderator today. Lily Russell is an MBA 2011 and Sustainability Certificate graduate. Lily is a Sustainability and Operations Executive with over 20 years of experience working at the intersection of sustainability and supply chain. Most recently, she built and led Google's supplier sustainability engagement function to support the company's 2030 net zero target. Prior to Google, Lily held senior leadership roles spanning sustainability, strategy, and operations at Nike and Converse. She was a founding faculty member and advisor for Bard College's MBA in Sustainability program and currently works as an independent consultant and advisor. Please join me in welcoming Lily as well as our faculty panelists.
All right, what a crowd. I gotta do a quick pulse check of, are you all here to see this crew? Raise your hand if these guys are the reason you're here.
There you go. That's
characters. Raise your hand if the word sustainability is in your job title.
Couple.
You know what? I'm okay with that ratio. That's an okay ratio. Raise your hand if you touch sustainability in any way, shape, or form in your day-to-day or your organization. Okay. Any curiosities? Okay. We are here to.
Yeah? You have questions? No, we have questions. You can ask them any question, and they'll raise their hands.
Exactly. We should call them.
Yeah. Cool. They need name cards.
We are here to talk about sustainability and climate at MIT, the past, present, and future. I am super excited for the topic because as we were prepping, some of the themes that came through are hands down the reason I chose to come here. So without further ado, we'll kick it off first with John's origin story of why you chose MIT, why MIT chose you, and how it's evolved.
Great. Well, so first of all, thanks, Lily. It's wonderful to see you, and it's so great to see so many of you here. And we're just thrilled. We're just thrilled. So as we were planning this, I didn't decide this, but Lily said, your job is to talk about the early days of sustainability here at Sloan. So I am the ghost of sustainability past. And Jason is the ghost of sustainability present, and this is the future, so watch out. So here's, and I have like 3 minutes, right? So my origin story for this is not that interesting, but when I was a nerdy high school kid, I read Jay Forrester's path-breaking book called World Dynamics, which was the very first system dynamics or any global model of what we now call sustainability. We didn't even have that word back then. And it completely changed my life. And then I worked with Dana and Dennis Meadows, who wrote the follow-on study, The Limits to Growth, which became a worldwide global best-selling book and was enormously controversial. That's the reason I chose this career path. That's the reason I came to MIT Sloan for my PhD in 1977 when Jason was born. And that's why I've stayed here ever since. Well, there's 2 reasons. One is this is the original place and the mother church of system dynamics. But also the second reason, and I'm dead serious about this, is because of all of you all, the students, right? Faculty like us, we could go to many other universities. I've always felt that being here with folks like you, and many of you specifically, is what gives me joy and brings me back year after year. So, when I started on the faculty in 1981, sustainability was not part of the conversation, and it sure as heck was not part of a management school conversation. And in case you don't know, and you do, it's the Sloan School of Management, not the Sloan School of Business. Some of you may think that's a distinction without a difference, and for some folks that's true, and that's fine. But management is a much broader topic that is not restricted to for-profit corporations. And that's been enormously important, not just for me, but for many, many of the faculty here. We work in public policy, we work in climate, we work in energy, we work in healthcare and epidemiology, and that's management, and it's incredibly important to me personally. And go look at the mission of the school that's emblazoned on the wall over in E62, sorry. And that's what you'll see, right? Principled, innovative leaders who change the world, right? Well, we were going to cold call y'all on that, but I just told you. So fast forward, I was always teaching this kind of one session a semester in my systematics classes. And then what happened was in the early 2000s, with conversations with people like Rick Locke, who's of course now our dean, and Rebecca Henderson, who was a faculty member here, and many other folks, we discovered we all cared very deeply about these issues, and we all felt that somehow it wasn't appropriate for us to talk about it in our professional lives. So we all got together, and this is the original teaching team for the very first S-Lab, Laboratory for Sustainable Business class in the spring of '07. Anybody here who took this class with us?
Wow.
1, 2, 3.
Here you go.
Anybody else? So this was fantastic. When I put this slide together, I tried to get pictures of the teaching team from that era. So you see pretty close what Simon and Rebecca and Rick looked like, Nelson, Anjali, Jeff, Sarah, and myself. Well, me, I looked like this. Actually like that. And today, many of you all have come up to me, and whether you're being nice or not, I can't tell, but you say, oh, you haven't changed a bit 20 years later, or whatever it is. And the answer is, yeah, I was born this way. No hair, big nose, gray beard, and glasses. Haven't changed a bit since then. But that picture is from 2005 for me, and it's pretty close, yeah, right? So pretty much no change. So this was an amazing experience. The first class at Sloan specifically dedicated to sustainability, and the classroom was moderately full, and it took off, and over the next few years we created the Sustainability Certificate Program, and this is a picture of Carolina, Christina Ingersoll. I don't know if Carolina is here today at all. We didn't coordinate on this, or Christina, but they were the first two students to earn the sustainability certificate. And we had this little ceremony in Rick's office. And the students who earned the certificate were outnumbered 3-2 by the faculty, right?
Rebecca was here as well. So, I mean, like 8-2.
Well, so right, that was just the three of us who were there that day. So yeah, it was really, it was a big breakthrough, the first sustainability certificate earners here. And this is, whoops. This is what it looks like now. So these are pictures from the last few Sustainability Certificate award ceremonies that we hold every year out on the river. How many of you have been at one of these? Okay.
Here you go.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So it's a much bigger community now, and that kind of brings us up to the present. So I'm going to hand it over to Jason, Ghost of Sustainability Present.
Yeah. Meanwhile, what's going on for me is I was a dot-com entrepreneur. Things blew up in early 2001. Anyone have that experience? All right, woo! So I put on a backpack, went traveling around the world, and I had my first real confrontation in emerging markets, but with the collision between growth and sustainability, right? The brown cloud over Delhi, and really started thinking serious about sustainability, trying to figure out who's actually working on these topics from a business perspective, who's thinking about new ways of organizing ourselves to try to create a better future. And that path led me here to MIT Sloan, where I kind of came to learn that there was this water cooler conversation that John alluded to of like, we are interested in sustainability, we're not sure how to bring it out. And so I came here as a PhD student in 2005 and helped to nudge things along while I was a grad student here. And so in 2010, which is when that last picture was taken, they said, Jason, why don't you try your hand at running this thing? And so that's what I've been doing for the last 16 years. As a senior lecturer on the faculty and director of the Sustainability Initiative. And what we've been able to do in that time is really grow this whole community. I was asking for some stats from my team. There are now 850 graduates of the Sustainability Certificate out there in the world doing amazing things. The students who are coming here now have an incredible cornucopia to choose from. There was that one S-Lab course in 2007. Now there's a list of 140 courses across MIT that have been approved for the Sustainability Certificate. And so it's a vibrant community. We just had a great graduation ceremony with the most recent batch of 48 last week. And what we're coming to understand now is that we are in a changed world. We have created some new possibilities. That we have this alumni network that can be engaged with each other, engaged with us in new ways. We're trying to figure out what that might look like. We've also helped to kick off other sustainability-related efforts at MIT. There's a climate policy center that spun out of our group that's engaging directly with policymakers around the world to advance climate action. We have been part of spinning up the MIT Climate Project, which is Sally Kornbluth's presidential level initiative on these topics. And we also, in our peer schools, as we look across other business schools, I mean, when we had the Sustainability Certificate, it was the first one. We were the first top business school to have an opportunity like that. Lily helped to get the Bard Green MBA off the ground. But now, if you look around at the landscape of other business schools, many have imitated and followed suit of what we're doing. And so we find ourselves in this really exciting moment where, of course, we face these political headwinds around sustainability, and we face kind of a difficult moment for some of you who are in this field, as you may know. But we also have this incredible alumni base and who understand that there is a signal beneath that political noise. Which is unfortunately, the march of climate getting warmer, but also the march of new technologies and new possibilities. 2025 was the first year where all of the growth in electricity demand, think all the data centers, all the new electric cars, all the growth in electricity demand was met by renewables for the first time in 2025. So there are some deeper processes at work, and our students who are coming with us are understanding that, and now we're trying to, we're in this process of figuring out like what is ours to do now. How do we continue to lead as MIT Sloan? So it's a very, very, very exciting moment. As we do that, what we're guided by is this idea that sustainability is not just about climate. It's not just about environment. And this was one of the things that really drew me into this conversation. Rick Locke was really a strong advocate for, is that this is about a bigger picture. Roberto and I have developed this promise framework, which some of you may have seen, which is our way of thinking about business, about the organizations that we manage, as being embedded in these larger systems where the environment and society and justice issues that surround us are a critical piece of the context of what it means to be a leader, what it means to do business. And we also have responsibility as leaders to create organizations where people can really thrive, where the personal well-being and relationships are strong, and where our organizations are places that are high vitality, where people want to be. And so it's a more inclusive vision and more holistic vision of sustainability, and that's been a real anchor point for us. And it's also been something that helps us in a moment like this, where there is a lot of noise at that institutions and politics layer, but there's a deeper signal of this critical social and environmental issues that we're all trying to take on. And that's kind of the moment that we find ourselves in now coming into today.
Just a quick, before we stay too long in the present, when I was at Sloan, Roberto Rigobon was always a force in the macroecon classes, a force of a personality around the school, and in your domain. But I would say when I was at Sloan, you weren't yet wearing a sustainability hat loud and clear. So just before we get too far into the present, I'd love to hear your origin story of how did it come to be?
So first, contrary to Jason and John, not a single other university will ever make me an offer. So, in fact, I try to avoid any contact with the dean because I'm always afraid that he's going to fire me. Is that okay? So I just wanted to clarify this. This is only John that can find, and Jason can find another job. Actually, I am here because of a sneak conspiracy between these two people and Bethany that I don't know where she is, but they actually conspired. They said, Roberto, John is taking a sabbatical. Like, okay? And we need your help. And can you just be the faculty director for 1 year? I have been trying to escape this since then. Is that okay? I just want to clarify. So,
You've heard of the Hotel California?
yeah. Actually, I actually played it in a bar once. But no, truly my journey is, I am a macroeconomist and an engineer, so therefore heartless. It was an EMBA, actually. So I was explaining about how we measure inflation with Daily, the Billion Prices Project. And I was telling how we could measure GDP daily. And in the middle of the class, she raises her hand and she says, have you ever thought about measuring human trafficking? And I said, well, I have no idea about human trafficking. So after the class, I stay with her and another classmate that actually was also involved in human trafficking. And we talked for about 6 hours. Then I started thinking more and more about that. I started learning more and more about that. And I realized that maybe measuring inflation rate is important, but that my contributions were much more important in measuring not ethical behavior, unethical behavior of firms. So it was very hard for me to think about anything else after I started to measure the worst of humankind. So we had this framework before that conversation because we have been developing this framework for a long time, but I never realized how important it was until actually I changed my view. So yeah, so today I think about what is our role in the world, and it's truly not entirely about the M in the middle. Truly it's not. It's about producing prosperity for all. And this is a promise of social well-being. And that's what we should be doing. So that's kind of my mandate now. Yeah.
Awesome. That's awesome. I will actually, can you just click back to the 2007 S-Lab teaching team?
Oh, I don't have
I got it, yeah.
So this group is the reason, and Julie Strong, who just caught me, I think is in the audience somewhere.
Oh, it's Julie.
Julie, did you make it in?
She's right there,
Hi.
right there.
So Julie used to work in admissions. My persona was more in the international development space. I was working in sustainability. I was a backpacker. I lived all over the world. I was not your classic MBA stereotype. And so then when I was looking to add that credential to my resume, I wanted a sort of no questions asked bullet in like 15 years of very varied experience around the world. What's something that could, like, no questions asked kind of MBA? Okay, well, that's MIT. But really, it was two things. It was this group that you see right here pictured or on the screen. And even a little bit Julie, which I wasn't planning to say, but she just caught me in the hallway where I said, no, I'm not a quant person. I can't go to MIT. But I did want the management experience and the business experience, and I did want some sustainability in that. I didn't want to leave that behind. And I will say that with all due respect to MIT Sloan was not advertising the sustainability part very well when I was looking. Every other school had a flyer for this sustainability course, that sustainability XYZ. But once you click, and you don't have to click very far, you find these people. Rick Locke's work in this space is fascinating, now dean, right? So it comes full circle and it's deeply entrenched in the school. It's the mens at manus, what MIT and MIT Sloan believe in. So I just, it gets me a little emotional, but I think that while the advertising was not strong, the DNA for these beliefs was there. And so you heard John say, when he started 2 years ago, doing his PhD, you said that economists used to reject the theory.
Yeah.
And now you've got Roberto sitting
Rejecting it again.
Yeah, exactly.
Tim, it's just personal. It's not.
I think that's the ethos of MIT. So I just wanted to come back to like this. If you haven't looked into this group that you're seeing here, or this group that's sitting here, it's a pretty strong, time-tested group of folks who have done a lot of great work. Shifting into the present, I know you wanted to talk about signal noise, you did.
Yeah.
Any other things you wanted to touch on the present and what's happening?
No, I mean, I'm curious to hear from our audience as well, like a bunch of you raised your hand saying that your work does touch sustainability. What are you seeing? What are you hearing? What are you feeling? How can we be of help? I think in this next phase, it's really, as I said, about, I mean, certainly we have great crops of students coming in every year, and many times the action learning, I mean, this SLab class is a projects course where students do projects with companies. Many of those projects are hosted by our alumni, right? We have 30 internships. Did I get that number right? 31, thanks, Jen. We have 31 internships that we're supporting this summer, many hosted by our alumni. So this feedback loop between alumni engagement and student engagement, that's the present. That's where we are right now. And that, in part, means us being able to learn and hear from you about what's moving and what's really powerful and what's possible in your context.
And I can just say, it's not just having alumni like you paying it forward, which is really important and valuable, but also, I think in almost all cases, there's real value delivered by what our current students are able to contribute. And you all know that from when you were students, right? That you had valuable capabilities and talents that you brought to your summer internships and your other action learning engagements. So it's a complete win-win for everybody.
Yeah.
So with that, what are folks seeing? And if there's any shadow of doubt in your head that you don't know what sustainability means, let that out. It's okay, because it means a lot of things. But what are you seeing, and how can MIT help? And if you can give just a touch of
Intro.
Well, tell us your name and
I'm EMBA 21.
EMBA 21.
Yeah, so a non-traditional EMBA student. A lot of my work's been in economic development and public policy. But my question actually relates to the prior lecture with Gary Gensler. Obviously, we're seeing huge investments in AI, including these data centers, and there's a lot of questions around sustainability as it comes to the infrastructure and clean energy. And so I'm just curious how you all are thinking about and talking about this as, you know, you leverage, we want to be forward thinking, technology's not bad, but it has impact. And so how are you all thinking about that as you?
I just want to check if back of the room
Could you all
hear that
hear that?
question, or should I repeat?
Well, I will repeat the question. The question is about the previous lecture, AI, and the impact that all the expansion of AI will have on the environment.
I think there's a social piece to that too.
Sorry?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
So
and a social piece.
can I
Yeah.
tackle that? So this is a fantastic question, and every time I use En-ROADS in the last 3 years since ChatGPT.
You might want to say what En-ROADS
Oh,
is.
how many people are familiar with the En-ROADS? Almost everybody. If you're not, it's our integrated climate policy solution simulator developed in partnership of our group here at MIT and the nonprofit Climate Interactive, founded by one of our alumni. And
which has now replaced the beer game as the sort of system dynamics experience of the
well,
incoming
so the beer
MBA
game is still
students.
really, really important,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
so
yeah.
is and so is beer.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a bicycle
Simpson.
commuter,
Yeah.
and people say, oh, well, you know, you're really old now, so you must be on an e-bike. No, my bicycle is 100% beer powered. So, and I rode in this morning, and it was fantastic. So the last few years, En-ROADS has been used more and more, and last year for the first time, and again this year in orientation, every incoming MBA student, every LGO, every incoming Sloan Fellow, and then in their required system dynamics class, every EMBA has an En-ROADS workshop experience. It's completely free, n-roads.org, or just Google it and you'll find it. Check it out, we're always improving it. Now to your question specifically, every time I do an En-ROADS presentation since ChatGPT, people say, well, what about AI? And so I've just completed a paper with a Sloan Fellow alum from last year, Jen
There,
Terliak,
Jen.
who's, where are you, Jen? Right there.
Yeah.
And it's on the Social Science Research Network, so it's publicly available prior to its publication in a book. We'll send out a link to it for everybody afterwards. And we ask this question using a system dynamics lens. What is the climate impact of AI going to be? And you're, of course, completely right. AI is way bigger than just emissions and climate. And that's a hallmark of our initiative. From the very beginning, because of the system dynamics orientation and you want a broad boundary, Sustainability here is not just about the environment, it's also about social sustainability, it's political sustainability, it's economic sustainability. You all know this, if people are hungry and poorly housed, they're gonna chop down the last tree, catch the last fish, and eat the seed corn, and then everybody dies. But it's also true that you can't have a healthy environment if people are poor and don't have basic human rights and so forth. So there's a fundamental alignment there. We've always had this big tent definition of sustainability. So social justice and equity with AI data center locations, local ground pollution, noise, supply chain issues around critical materials that create mining hazards, and all of these issues, along with privacy and deep fakes and cyber stalking, and all of that is part of the AI question. What Jen and I looked at was the climate impacts. And so the basic story is, yeah, the data centers are chewing up a lot of electricity, and most of that electricity is generating carbon emissions. Efficiency is improving a lot, so that makes climate change worse than it would otherwise be. Emissions per token, or however you want to think about it, are going to be going down. They're already going down because of greater energy efficiency and algorithms in chip design and in data center architectures. But that creates, and that's great, we got to have that, but it creates a problem, and that problem is every time AI gets more energy efficient, it also gets cheaper. And that leads to what's called the direct rebound effect, where more people are going to use it more. I mean, in this room, everybody uses it, but not everybody in the world yet, because they don't have it or it's too expensive. So that's the direct rebound effect and undermines the efficiency improvements. The big threat, though, is that if, as many people believe, AI is a general purpose technology that's going to dramatically boost productivity in industry after industry, starting with coding and then moving on to almost all jobs in the world, that's thought to, and people want it to, boost economic productivity. Well, that grows the economy faster, and that means all of the activity that uses energy and generates carbon emissions, those emissions go up. That's called the indirect rebound effect, and our analysis suggests so far, if those productivity gains come to pass, as everybody wants, pretty much everybody, and there's big equity questions and who's going to share in the wealth. But if that happens, there will be an increase in emissions, and climate change will be materially worse. So it isn't just a rebound effect, it's what we call a backfire. This is addressable with climate policy, but it's not addressable just by counting on technological innovation.
There's also roles for AI to help with the climate, right? Particularly with balancing the electric grid and creating opportunities for better renewable penetration, because you can predict, grid loads and better match supply and demand. There's actually a dedicated course on energy management and AI that Harvey Michaels has taught for the first time this spring, looking at all the possibilities for agentic AI and helping to drive improvements in the energy system to help it be more affordable and to have better utilization of renewables. So there is this positive handprint of AI to go along with this negative footprint of it, and there's kind of a race on between those different use cases and those different possibilities.
Yeah.
As a macroeconomist, I see these problems with a different lens. So it is the case that the problem of climate is not only a problem of technology or a challenge on technology, it's a challenge on governance, the way I see it. It's a governance and behavior. So I always do the following thought experiment. Imagine that tomorrow we find a technology that produces energy without CO2 emissions, that produces steel and cement without CO2 emissions, that actually captures CO2 is very cheap, and that the batteries are great and long-lasting and they don't have CO2. Do we solve the problem of climate with that? I think the answer is no. I think the answer is absolutely no. Because there are extraordinarily important challenges. Coordination across nations. To me, climate is the first true planetary problem we have to face without a planetary coordination like a government. How are we going to decide who pays, who does the transition, who implements, who designs? We all have the free riding problem. Furthermore, not only coordination problem, but the second extraordinarily important problem is the attribution. I mean, some people call it fairness, some people call it responsibilities. The attribution problem is that countries with different histories, with different previous scenes, if you want, how are we going to make different countries responsible? So we have to coordinate globally actions that somehow might feel unfair for many. And in fact, the issues of social injustice, politics, institutional aspects, organizations, relationships, and personal mental health, these are things that need to be considered in the design. Who is the one that can bear a bigger part of that cost? This is also a tremendous political issue, because so when our politicians are like externally incompetent, okay? I don't know if you have realized. I know being from Venezuela that my politicians are idiots, but the United States is not that far, okay? I mean, like Democrats and Republicans are two complete, absolute incompetent individuals. I think that they take an exam and you are only accepted in Congress if you fail at least 3 times. So truly, so one is incompetence, but the other one, which is kind of more important, is that they're very short-termish. And all this collective action is costly in the short run or in the immediate run, and the payoff is later. And therefore, they have to give up their job to pursue a brighter future. So, and this leads to the fourth one, which is that this is important for the people that have not been born yet. They don't have a voice, they don't have a representation. So the biggest problem that we have is the one that we discussed in the Sustainability Initiative exactly in this building. It's not about a technicality. When I look at humankind and I think about technological problems, I have millions of examples of technical challenges that we solve them. Are we going to have an individual or a base in Mars? Pretty sure, yes. Because it's a technicality. Can we find the coordination? Can we actually achieve it? Those are the things that I feel that are more complicated. We have not had many planetary challenges where we have proven our ability to coordinate. We need to coordinate. And that's where you are our army. We need an army of people. Today, at noon, an EMBA from 2016, do I have any 2016s here? Yeah, okay. Wow. Nice. That's very nice. So, but at 2016, I was planning to do something else, but at 2016 asked me a very good question. He was very frustrated by the fact that, he has been working for 10 years and have very little dent on the world. And it was, by the way, I was supposed just to say hi, but they cannot refrain from asking questions for some reason. So, okay, they're actually like, okay, you could call me bastard, so let me call you now. That's more or less, that's actually the attitude. But his question was a very good question. He said, like, I'm frustrated because I have spent 10 years working and I see a very small dent. And I answer kind of saying that, I answer quoting Don Quixote, okay? Don Quixote, by the way, Cervantes and Shakespeare actually wrote their best pieces exactly at the same time, and they actually died the same year, like talking about the brilliance of literature happening at one single time in the 1600s. But Don Quixote, if you ever read the end of Don Quixote, is that, he becomes insane and he starts all these battles as a knight. He loses all the battles. He's been beat up all the time. And in part 2, one of his friends from the town decides to become a knight and challenge him to a fight and win. Therefore, he wins. And the code of integrity of Don Quixote is so extraordinary that if you lose a battle against a knight, you kind of have to leave your knighthood. So he follows his friend. And his friend just brings him home. And he sleeps, he wakes up in the morning, and then he's sane again. You know what happened when he becomes sane? When he loses the ability to be creative, to be imaginative, he lost the will to fight. The fights that we have ahead requires creativity, imagination, patience, and a lot of craziness. And I cannot imagine a better definition of an MIT alumni.
You definitely prepped that story.
No, actually, no, I did not prep that story. It's
Making it all up as he goes along. Yeah. So I just want to
know
build off that a little bit. So I'm going to disagree with you a little bit about your characterization of our political leaders, although you can certainly find some examples like that. But my experience briefing many senior leaders in our government, members of the Senate, members of Congress, governors, folks in the administration, not this administration, but is they're, by and large, they're incredibly smart and committed. Now, many of them on the Republican side deeply care about these issues, but right now don't feel that they can say anything about it in public. But this is not just about our politicians, right? The short time horizon, the next election, all that is true. But it's very much the same for our corporate leaders, right? What are next quarter's earnings going to be, and what do we say when the net income comes in below the analysts' forecasts? And that's there, and it's real, and many of you have experienced this. But my experience is a little bit different. Again, many of them will not say this in public, but when you get in a quiet moment, often over a beer, as long as we can go back to that important theme, in private, what I hear, and this is something we can test with you, maybe I'm completely off base, but what I hear from a lot of folks is, especially the younger ones, and younger alumni, I've got to pay off my student debts, I've got to pay my mortgage, I need to save for my kids to be able to go to college, and I need to have a decent standard of living and an income I can count on, so I need my career, but I'm so unhappy because the organization I work for, the company I work for, is actively engaged in destroying the future that I most dearly want for myself, my kids, and for all the children. And I find that, they tell me, they say, I find that an increasingly intolerable tension. So that's what I hear pretty often, but let me test it with you. Is that a fair, how many people have felt that? You can raise your hand, and if the answer is no, that's fine. So some definitely. I think that's an important reason for hope. There's a phenomenon in the climate communication world. The psychologists give it a fancy name, but in plain language, if you ask people in this country, do you think the climate is changing? Overwhelming majority say yes. Do you think that it's caused by human activity, burning fossil fuels? Overwhelming majority say yes. Do you think it poses a risk and a threat to you personally, to our society, to our prosperity? Majorities say yes. Then when you ask them, well, how many other people do you think agree with that? They say almost nobody. Yeah. This is called pluralistic ignorance in psychology, but in plain language, it means don't be quiet. When you say to yourself, I don't think anybody in my company or my social network or my house of worship thinks like this, and then you self-censor, then other people never get the signal that they're not alone either.
Is that a feedback loop, John?
That could be a feedback loop. It's really important that you speak out. Maybe that requires a little craziness. Now, everybody knows there's a time and a place, right? So like I say, a lot of what I hear about this is in a quiet moment. It's not, on the call with the analysts. But don't be quiet. And the other part of this, am I going to interrupt you, or are you going to interrupt me? That's okay.
No.
The other part of this that's really important, and pivoting off of what Roberto said, is it doesn't matter what you studied here or what you've become an expert in. These challenges, which are much broader than just climate and environment, the big tent definition of sustainability, social justice, equity, well-being in all dimensions, this is something where it doesn't matter what your skill set is, what you studied here, what you're good at now. We need you. We need what you bring. And the Sloan education is exactly what we need to tackle these problems, because there's technology, and many of you are experts in technology, but no technological solution for these problems exists. We're going to need all of it we can muster, but self-regulation and technological innovation by themselves cannot solve these problems, and arguably are making a lot of them a lot worse. We're going to need everybody. So it doesn't matter whether you did operations management or marketing or finance or accounting or anything else that we specialize in here. We need the skills that you have and that you've developed since then to help solve these problems. So never say to yourself, oh gosh, climate, that's not in my domain. I don't know, I don't have anything to contribute here. Everybody is needed. Everybody has something important to contribute.
You can also change the question. Instead of just maybe ask the question is, do you have a chance to improve the life of someone in any form or shape?
Right.
And I think that the answer to that should be yes, you do have. So that's about social well-being. Hopefully it's also about responsibility, it's about recycling, it's about with your leadership, and I think that you can make a tremendous difference, tremendous.
Let's try one more question. Right here.
Hi, Tim.
The Iran war is expected in the near future to have huge macroeconomic implications with respect to the price of energy and several other key commodities.
Could you give him a mic, please?
He's got the mic, but it's not
It's
on.
not working. No, I didn't hear anything.
I'll go
yet.
there, I'll go there, don't worry. I move, yes. Come, Yeah. The T is for total silence.
Okay, thank you.
The MIT, yeah.
It seems a little obscene, but we'll pass on that. Okay, the Iran war is expected to have huge macroeconomic ramifications in the near future due to its effect on the price of energy and several other key commodities. Have you guys even begun to grapple with the sustainability implications of all that yet?
There you go.
Do you want to take that one, Roberto?
Okay. So do we ask the question, what are going to be the implications of the Iran war on all of us? I think that we're constantly asking and evaluating what that impact will be. I think it's, sorry.
Good.
Yeah, I'm good? Yeah, okay. I actually think that one of the bad parts of the war are not only the macro impact. I think actually the macroeconomics is the least important of all, truly. So, because the beauty of macroeconomics is that we have certain restrictions. Again, it's a system, it's dynamic, and it has a lot of feedback loops. And it has a tremendous amount of restrictions. So what I love about macroeconomics is that stupidity, it has an immediate cost in the life of the people that you are supposed to be protecting. So to me, a war against Iran, I mean, that doesn't mean that we should not negotiate with Iran. Is that okay? I just want to separate the two things, okay? So one is, do you have a nuclear weapon? Are you supporting criminal organizations? I want to take that out from the discussion because I think there are many different ways in which we can have that conversation with Iran. Just actually going there and just bombing people or removing the president of a horrible nation close to Colombia, north of, and so removing my president, doesn't seem to be the proper way to have a world governance. Is that okay? I mean, this is not the way we do things. And when you act in this unilateral autocratic way, it has cost. It has. So the issue is that it creates humongous amount of anxiety on all of us. I am incredibly optimistic about how the economy works. And these things will come back. And they come back. I am incredibly trusting of the institutions of the United States that support tremendous amount of pressure Like, when did we change the president of the Central Bank of the United States? Exactly the day the law said. Exactly. Not one day later, not one day before. Exactly on the day. I love this country because it has that incredible ability to reinvent itself and to discipline many of the individuals. So the Iran war, the problem that I have with the Iran war is that we now feel that we can just go out and do whatever we can and want without any repercussions. So we are in that mode, and countries are behaving like that. I think that we have to speak up. Actually, please speak up. Exactly what imagine, if I'm agreeing with John, it must be true, okay? Because we need people to advocate. Don't be afraid to say it. It doesn't matter what are your visions on abortion. It doesn't matter what are your visions and perspective about some of these deep issues that divide our society. On this one, we should agree that this is not the American way. Period. So let me rephrase the question that John asked all of you. You know what has been surprising to me since Trump got into on power? I was not surprised by the attitude or the things that he did. I anticipated almost all of this. Did I anticipate the response of the Republican Party to this? Absolutely yes. Did I anticipate the response of the Democrats' incompetence? Absolutely I anticipated. You know what was surprising to me? How wimpy the private sector was. That's what actually was surprised. How is it possible that Apple, Amazon, Google, and Paramount are such a bunch of cowards? So let me ask this question to you. Raise your hand if you feel ashamed of what your organization acted in response to this freaking bully. Raise your hand. Okay, I am ashamed. I am ashamed. And that, to me, is the problem of the Iran war, is that we are encouraging and protecting that shameful behavior. So do not be silent. We need you to be awake. This is urgent. I saw my country lose its democracy. Okay? We were the third constitution on earth. We were the first constitution on earth that had the birthright citizenship in the constitution, unconditional. We were the very first constitution on earth that had Social Security as a right and a responsibility of the society. I was the third richest nation on earth per capita. Every single country actually moved to Venezuela during the period of 1890 to 1960. And I have a dictatorship. Don't take it for granted. Under absolutely no circumstances, take this for granted. Please fight for what is actually our common values. This is not about Democrats, not Republicans. This is not about religion. It has nothing to do about that. It has to do about dignity and respect. In the Sustainability Initiative, this is what we do every single day.
Thanks for bringing it back, buddy.
We have to go.
That's what we call a mic drop.
Yeah.
And we just want to say thank you. Thank you for everything you do. But the whole theme is thank you to all of you for everything you have done in the past, present, and future. And we have a hard stop of a minute ago. So thank you very much. Yeah.
Thanks, Lily.